Lesson today on data validation and being able to kind of add some things to our spreadsheets that you might be able to utilize in your classes. I have here a list of student 1 through 10, and we're going to see if they know their letters. So it's really kind of an elementary spreadsheet, but you could take this and make it be based on anything you're doing in your class. It's really to check skills. I know a lot of classrooms use like skills-based grading or standards-based grading, and so this would be something you can use that for. I really like using check marks in my spreadsheet so I can check things off and say, okay, student 1 knows letter A, B, C, and D. They haven't gotten E and F yet. So we're going to turn all of these squares in here into check marks. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to go insert, and I'm going to add a checkbox. And so now all of these have checkboxes in them. I can check them, and a very easy visual way to see what student 1 knows, what they're lacking. And so it looks like some of this is already formatted. That one's already centered and nicely formatted. So I'm going to run my selection over and just do, our basic formatting here where we get it formatted horizontally and vertically. Another thing is when you have the colored background, and sometimes it's fun to do white text, but definitely not a necessity at all. And so we have our check marks here, but right now these check marks don't do any calculations for us. They are just check marks. But what we can utilize data validation for is we can make these check marks be worth points so that we can have a total of our kids' points when it comes to what skills they've learned. So if we select all of these check marks that we imported and go up to data and then data validation, we're going to get a new kind of piece of information bar over on this side here. So I'm going to click on check marks right here. And so it can see that I have a range, all those letters and their check marks is, but we want to use custom cell values. So we're going to check that. Instead of true and false, I'm going to say when it's checked, it's worth 5 points. And when it's not checked, it's worth 0 points. And so that's going to allow me to get a calculation. So I'm going to hit done there. And so now I'm going to add, have a couple of these students have more points here. So we know that student 2 should have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 points, whereas this student should only have 25. But we have to figure out how to add that up. So if I click on this totals right here, I can go up and I can get my auto sum. And so we can go right here, there's my auto sum, my function, and I can go to sum. And then it's going to ask me what values I want to add up. Well, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select from B3 over to G3, that top row. And then you can see how it has, B3 through G3 in there in the parentheses. And I'm going to hit return. And then it's automatically added up those check marks for me. And then my Google Sheets is smart enough to say, hey, do you want to fill this down? I'm not going to because I want to show you how to manually do it, but you definitely could do Command Enter and fill down that formula so it does every row for you. I just want to show you how you manually do it. I'm going to check some more of these random boxes so we can kind of see who's going to have scores, who's not, so we can just kind of see how that works. But this right here, this one has the sum calculation in it. If I double click, I can go and look and edit that. Or if I go up here to my functions bar, I can see that it's equal sum, parentheses, B3 through G3, that's the sum adding up. And so now this blue circle right there is my fill handle. And if I hover over it with my mouse, I get a crosshair or a black plus sign. And then I can pull that formula down. And you saw when we were in this formula that we were doing row 3, so B3 through G3. Well, Google Sheets or any spreadsheet is smart enough to know that when we move down a row, we're now calculating B4 through G4. And all of those have, calculated out. And this is a way for you to see, okay, once they have all of their letters that they recognize or what skills that you do in your classroom, we can add those up and see what points they're worth. So that's a really easy way to use check marks and data validation. One more that I want to show you that I utilize a lot when I'm letting other people use spreadsheets that I'm working on. I give them specific options that they can put in a cell. Instead of letting them type, I'm going to give them options. So if I come right here in this cell, I'm going to kind of clear out of that data validation that I have and go up to data validation again, and I want to add a new rule, and that's for this cell right here because that's the one I have selected. But that's not what it's applying to right here. So I think I need, there we go, F3. So that's the wrong. let's get this to be the right range. I'm going to delete this out and add another range maybe here and just get that one. That looks to be the right range. Yeah, it just must be, oh, A3, that's the name of the sheet, and then it's I3, which is what I'm in. I apologize. So that is I3, that's what I want. It's the right range. And now here's my options. So if I'm going to say, you know, they need to work on Monday, they need, you know, help on Tuesday, like what day they need to come in for extra help or something. Those are the options, and I can continue adding on, but I'm going to hit done so you can see now when I go to this cell, I can pick Monday or I can pick Tuesday. And that's really nice that you can give them specific options, and you can come back in here and change these, add another one. Maybe you want Wednesday in there. Maybe this is, you know, needs improvement or outstanding, however you grade in your classroom. You could have those drop downs be to where you can select what you want for that student and never have to type in there. You can just always use a drop down. So something to think about. And so when you are using this, where I got messed up on this letters A through F right there, that's the name of my sheet page. And so I've got to move my little video here. You can see my sheets page is A through F, and then it has an exclamation point because it's always going to use, that's an absolute value of always going to use just that specific cell, I3, and then that's an I3 right there. So it's selecting the cell that I had. So those are some ways that you can use data validation. I'm going to let you practice this, and then hopefully you can utilize it in your project.